Welcome to Totally Talent Podcast by HR.com, your go-to source for all things talent. Whether you're looking for expert insights on high-volume hiring, the latest trends in recruitment technology, or strategies for building a winning team, we've got you covered. Join us for each episode as we dive deep into the challenges and opportunities shaping the talent landscape today. Let's get started.
Hi, friends. Welcome back to another edition of Totally Talent on HR.com. I am your host, Mike Wood, and I'm joined by Ron Burr today of Jema AI, which is a really cool, interesting tool for job seekers, not just for the companies trying to hire people, but for job seekers themselves. So, Ron, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Glad to be here, Mike.
So, Ron, tell me about why you started Jema AI.
Well, we started it, and I've got three co-founders who we all started together. But really, fundamentally, we looked at this problem. Sometimes the most obvious problems have been around a long time and just haven't been solved well. And we saw this kind of escalating challenge in the hiring process for just for people finding jobs and for companies finding people. It's a two-sided problem. It's not just one-sided, right? I mean, for every applicant that's sending out 200, 300 resumes, you've got companies that are receiving, 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 applicants. So it's not working for either side. And so we were looking at how do we actually introduce a tool? Well, first of all, what's broken here? And then how can we fix it?
So, we all know that the current state of thing is broken because, as you said, that there's too much volume coming in. I mean, I just read in the New York Times that there's 2 million Americans that are now long-term unemployed. It's the longest since the pandemic, and I'm not surprised. And it's just from a jobs seeker standpoint, it is incredibly frustrating. It's incredibly demoralizing when you submit your application. You think you should at least get some sort of notice back, and you either get nothing or you get the immediate "you got rejected by the algorithm."
Right.
So
and
tell me what Jema does. Yeah.
And it's from a no reply email address too, right? So you have nobody to engage with. You're really put into a box.
Yeah, great.
Yeah, it's
Thanks.
a dehumanizing process. It's a very dehumanizing process. So, okay, so like we can't solve everything, but we're attacking the problem from some of its core, what we believe is core roots. And one of those is that, we're putting talent first. So, most of the tools that are out there on the market, in fact, I would venture to say just about all of them, are B2B, in other words, employer-funded tools, right? Even the job search boards like LinkedIn or Indeed or ZipRecruiter, and I think there's over 30,000 job boards out there. That's a whole nother topic we could get into, just kind of the seedy underworld of the way job boards, some of them game the system and put ghost jobs up there and do all kinds of crazy things. But effectively, with the employer being kind of the driver of revenue, the job seeker is just always going to assume to be in the process, right? They're just going to always be there. They need a job. They're kind of, for lack of a better description, they're fodder into the machine. And what we're trying to do is really reverse that thinking. And if you think about the holistic problem, even on the employer side, what are employers trying to do right now? First of all, they are trying to solve this talent acquisition funnel problem, and there's a whole series of tools, as you and I both know, that are out there trying to address this. And then on the engagement side, you've got the same thing. Employers are trying to drive employee engagement. They understand that alignment is a critical factor in productivity and in generating a productive and satisfied workforce. But everything is approached from the employer lens. Nobody's approaching this from the lens of the talent. And so Jema is out there as a tool and a platform to first engage in a private, secure environment for the talent. And we start with behavioral science. So you go through a pretty exhaustive intake process with Jema. Just learn about, we just collectively discover who are you? What are your workplace motivators? What are your interests? What are your personality traits? How do you use judgment in the workplace? A whole series of things that just help us reveal to you. And this isn't data that is shared with anybody other than you. but it helps you gain personal awareness about who you are in the world of work. That's kind of step one. And then from there, of course, you think about, you want to find a job. We have a whole series of tools we can take you through on that front. Um, but I'd say the other unique thing, Mike, is that we try to approach this from a career perspective. Job seeking and job search in general, right now, it's a very reactive process, and it's done kind of at a point in time. It's like as soon as you find a job, you're like, okay, I'm not going to work. That's why, we don't work on our resume 24/7, right? We work on it when we need a job, and then it goes in a drawer. And then the next time we're looking for a job, oh yeah, let me dust that thing off, and that's a pain.
Yeah.
Nobody likes to work on it. It's just a whole series of problems there.
Yeah, and so not only are you, so you're kind of like a concierge for jobs. So you're going to be sharing jobs that match the candidate. So as a user, as I walk in every day or whatever, I'm seeing curated jobs that are a good fit for me, right?
That's correct. Yeah. So in the job search function of Gemma, um, once we have got that kind of understanding of who you are, of course, you upload a traditional resume to the platform if you have one. If not, you can fill out a profile, and our profile is far more in depth than the standard resume. Again, because we're trying to understand who you are. Like that profile we do on you, we do the same thing on employers. So we have first of all, we're agentic AI. So we're leveraging the power of AI, and we have an agent that's running 24/7 that's profiling companies, and it's building a very similar type of profile, understanding not just the basics of the demographics of the company, like what's their revenue, how many employees do they have, are they public, are they private, what's their growth rate, and so on. But we try to get into kind of the softer skills and interests as well. So what's this culture like? Are they a high intensity work environment? Do they value work-life balance? What's their promotion rate? Do they pay in the 25th percentile, the 50th percentile, the 75th percentile? All of the kind of those softer data points that are harder to get at, but that we can now do through a variety of open source intel gathering methods that we have enabled in our agent. So we use a scoring algorithm we call True Match, and we look at the individual, we look at the company, and then we look at the job. So it's a triangulated mix, and we score it. And then we give you this list of kind of the highest value jobs that you should apply for. And by the way, in that process too, so we have access to the job data out there that everybody else has access to, all the other job boards have access to. But one of the things that we do significantly put effort into is filtering out what we consider to be either scams or ghost jobs, because that is a whole nother problem for job seekers. They do a search, they're driven to a job board, that job may not even exist. They're saying, oh, this job is filled, but here, sign up for our service and we'll show you some similar jobs.
It's a way for them to build their future
right?
talent pool.
Yeah, they're harvesting. Well, that's not even on the employer. That's just like some secondary job board that's trying to harvest data. They're showing ads. So they have a whole separate business model that has nothing to do with actually helping you get a job. It's just trying to monetize the traffic, just like an advertising site does. So we filter all of that out, and we get you directly to the employer website. When it comes time to apply, we drop you right onto the employer's website into their ATS funnel and get you started on your application process.
And the other part, just kind of, so like that's great having an AI agent to help you find a job. But I think what really intrigued me about how this is different from the other ones that I've kind of read about. Um, First of all, this is real and I can actually see it. I've heard about other type of job
Right.
agents, but what I really like is that this will look at your skills and show you the different jobs you could move, like different areas that you can go in your career. So it's almost like a career coach for you personally that takes the job of, let's say, a life coach would on LinkedIn, but you don't have to pay them tons of money.
100%. That's right, Mike. We, again, through the power of AI, we're able to kind of democratize the availability of something that was really expensive previously, which is career coaching. And that's what Gemma really is we don't think of Gemma, job search as part of a career, part of the experience, but it's an overall career coach and career management platform. So the idea is that you come into Gemma and you kind of start to build this profile of who you are, and she helps you figure out, let's work together on a career plan, right? And you actually get a career map and a career plan. And part of that career plan is giving you coaching and advice on things you can do just like you would get maybe, employee, again, this is where things I think are kind of backwards. You'll go to an employer, and the employers will try to develop, development plans with you to try to help you mature in the organization. But those are siloed in that employer. When you leave that employer, that doesn't go with you. And it's really about you and that employer, not you as an individual. And so we're bringing that where it should be, which is down to you. What is your life plan? What is your career plan? And how do you take control of it?
So let's take a step back. How did you even start Gemma? Like, what put you in this world? Because I don't think you came from HR tech.
No, well, I'm not. I'm a software engineer by background, and but my wife is actually also a technology executive. She's been in HR and operations her whole career, and this has really kind of been in her wheelhouse. She does just as a friend and favor. She's done kind of career counseling for years, and one of the things that we noticed in the last 2 years was just the volume of requests coming in from friends, former colleagues, parents of former colleagues, children of former colleagues, new college graduates. I think, at one point she was probably managing 12 to 14 different requests for, and this is not something she was, she's not a consultant. She just does it for free. Became kind of an unsustainable problem. And you do it out of the goodness of your heart, but you start to realize this is a real problem. This is a problem that needs a solution. And was when looking at that, and then kind of where we were with AI and what we could do, we realized that there's actually a way to solve this problem, um, you know, in a unique point in time that we've never had before in kind of technological history. So
That's
that's what got
fantastic.
us here.
So, yeah, I'll let our readers know that I met you in a bar at HR Tech, which I've said
That's
for
right.
years. So I've been going to HR Tech since 2013, and the best conversations that I've had with people are always at any of these after parties or bar where you're just sitting down and talking. And so I happened to sit down with my colleague Greg, and then you sat down with your co-founder, and we started talking. And I was like, "This is a great idea because you're actually trying to help people. You're not just trying to." You're giving some power back to the candidate, which I always love to see. Um, but I want to get your take on. So you were at the HR Tech conference. Like, what was you've probably never been there before. What was your general take on it?
Um, well, it was, I think it was interesting. Obviously, AI is the buzzword of the day, so everybody's
Yeah.
slapping AI into something. And I think a few people had some interesting approaches with AI, but I think you know, for the most part, a lot of it is just what we typically do in marketing, which is we we find the buzzword of the day and we slap it on because we have to. But in general, I thought the conference itself was actually quite good for the industry. There was a lot of the right people were there. There were some interesting breakout sessions to attend. Um, but the one thing I guess to your point about kind of our meet and the fact that what we're doing is unique, kind of contrarian by putting talent first. I didn't see anything there that was doing what we're doing, taking that approach. And every time we spoke to, so one of the things we're doing is trying to integrate, of course, with HCMs and ATS providers and so on to make a better experience for our user. And so every time I would begin to talk about partnerships with folks, they were like, "Wow, that's really unique. Nobody's thinking about putting talent first." Yeah, exactly.
Well, to be
It is a
honest,
unique
that's
way
not
to
where
think
the
about it,
money
but it's
is,
the right way.
right?
Yeah.
It's
Well,
it's
that's it. You're right. That's it. People think in the venture capital world is the same way. They're like, well, the employers is where all the money is. Well, the reality is that people need this, and we can put it out there at a very affordable price point. We're looking at about $11 a month to subscribe to the service. It's a freemium model, so people can sign up and use it. Again, we're trying to be on your side, so you get a full engagement and full use of the platform to decide if it's even working for you before you actually have to pay. But anyway, yeah, I think it's just a contrarian view. Although I will point out that LinkedIn does do this, right? LinkedIn does charge the consumer. Not you don't have to. You have a free model and you have a pay model. I think theirs is like between $40 and $50 a month for the consumer
yeah.
side product. So it's not totally unusual.
Which is it's a tough price to pay when you're out of work. 40
Yeah,
bucks is a little bit
exactly.
much, and what you're actually getting for that too. But if $11 a month is going to save me the time of scrolling through and trying to find the right job, almost like any tool out there is going to help save you the time of sourcing and finding the right candidates, just flipped. So I think that's
Yeah.
if I was out of work right now, I'd pay the $10 for it.
Well, that's what we think. We think we're trying to, we'll see what that price point, where that price point sticks. I think it's a good place to start. And I believe what you just said, which is I would do the same. I would pay $10 a month for a tool that gave me a real value. Right. And that's our goal. Our goal is to deliver real value to the job seeker, to the talent. You pointed out something too, that endless scrolling, when you're searching for a job and first of all, you're not just on one site, you're probably traversing 2, 3, 4 different sites, maybe more. You're going in on Monday, you're starting your search, you're getting your list, and there's no management process, right? So people are inventing their own thing. Well, maybe like I'll copy these and put these into Excel, or I'll put these in Word or something like that. And then I come back Tuesday, and I'm seeing the same jobs I saw yesterday. I have to ignore the ones I already ignored yesterday, right? There's no curation process. There's no kind of organized Kanban process. So that's all built into Jema as well. So you find a job that first of all, as you know, we're curating, but if you see a job that even we've curated, you say, you know what, not really interested, don't show it to me again. When you come back tomorrow, you don't see that job again, right? So you don't have that fatigue of having to constantly go back and kind of relook at the same thing you did. You can focus on being productive and, applying for jobs that actually matter.
Yeah, I think so I've been laid off before. I was laid off in August of 24. Yeah, August of 24, and I thought, yeah, I would get a job right away. No, it is tough. There's unemployment sticks and it's really draining, and you can almost be a full-time job of just going and looking and trying to find something, and you'll drive yourself crazy. So if I had something like this at that time, I would be
You
able to,
will.
like, let me go out for a walk with my dog or something just to clear my head. So I think, you
Exactly.
let the technology do the work for you. It's already doing it for the recruiters. Let it do it for you.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And, I'd say on top of that, John, just kind of making it a better experience for the job seeker through automation and through customization. We're also trying to improve that experience for the employer because it is a two-sided equation. And one of the things that we create, of course, when you apply for a job, you need a resume, and the world today is everything. 80% of, or maybe even more of the jobs out there go through an ATS, an applicant tracking system. And you need a resume that's properly formatted to even be processed by the ATS. A lot of people make that mistake, right? They try to get a very fancy resume template, looks beautiful, but when you submit it to the ATS, it doesn't work well. And you can be, it's not how to parse
And no one tells the
the
applicant
fields and
that.
the box, the images. That's right. Nobody tells you that. You don't know that. So, we give you a resume that's formatted and scored that we know is going to pass and be at least getting through the primary filters on the ATS side. But in addition to that, we're creating this new product we call Resume 360, which is a more holistic view of you as a person, because the resume, as many people might not know, I think it was invented by Leonardo da Vinci as the CV in something like 1482. So this
I
is a
did not
very
know
old
that, and I'm a
concept.
huge history
Yeah.
nerd, and I'm surprised I didn't know that.
Yeah, so this is a very old and dated concept, and when we think about the relationship between employer and employee, it starts with these two fundamental pieces of data. It starts with my resume and it starts with a job description. Both of these are kind of fundamentally flawed data sets, right? Resumes don't really do a great job of capturing who I am or who you are as an individual, and job descriptions typically are equally as bad at describing, who the company is, what the job is, what the team that you're going to work on is like, and kind of what is needed. And so that's where we got to bring this behavioral science and kind of these more modern tools into the process. So Resume 360 gives you a more holistic view of the candidate. You have some video vignettes you can record. We show kind of how the matching scores and how you kind of match to the key skills and requirements for the job. You can the employer, the talent acquisition team, or the hiring manager can actually interact with Jema, the AI, and ask her questions about the candidate. So I'm applying for the job. Now talent acquisition can have a direct conversation with Jema and what Jema knows about me. This short circuits that screening process and also builds trust with the employer that Jema candidates are actually well screened and well targeted for the job. And that's the kind of the full circle loop that we're trying to build and reinforce, that candidates that come from the Jema platform should be of higher value and hopefully perceived as a more likelihood of getting hired than somebody who's just coming over the transom through Indeed or someplace else.
Well, this is fantastic. I'm impressed with it. You never know when you run into like a startup whether it's actually what they say they are or whatnot. But this is great, and this is actually helpful for job seekers. And they can check out Jema AI and they can get started right then and there. I don't think they have to pay anything right away. Um, I was kind of checking it out earlier today. So please, if you are looking for work out there, definitely check it out. And I hope to see more tools like this that come out from you or from others. I applaud you for actually trying to help the job seeker and the recruiters themselves.
Thank you. Yeah. Look, like I said, it's an age old problem, and we're trying to, this isn't new, I think, and we're trying to really give people the tools they need to take the reins of their career and manage it, and not be kind of at the whim of the winds of kind of economic times and what employers are doing today. So hopefully we can give you direction and we can give you the tools you need to kind of take control of your career.
Well, thank you, Ron Burr. Everybody who's listening, please check out Jema AI, and we'll see you on the next episode of Totally Talent.
Awesome. Thank you, Mike. Thanks for having us.
Thanks for tuning in to the Totally Talent podcast by HR.com. We hope you find today's episode insightful and inspiring. Don't forget to explore more episodes and discover valuable resources at hr.com/podcasts, where you can listen to all of our podcasts. Until next time, keep leading with purpose and making a difference in the world of talent.